Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Shall we make it?
No, not that I can.
Okay. End of the year trials. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, only 180 block this year, not 365. Okay. We're gonna start Sadik Zion, right? Sadik Zion, that's 97. 97A. Huh?
We'll see you, guy.
97A on the bottom of the page. Is that correct? Tali Hashayel? The Mishnah. Sadik Zion Amar Aleph. If we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. So about learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. Learning Lili Nishmas, Zahava Golda Basbar Binyamin, and Nisan Al Zev Ben Benzion, and Refuah Shleim for Avram David Ben Sarah, and for whoever else needs a Refuah Shleim. Okay, the Mishnah says like this: Hashayel Sapara. Someone borrowed a cow. It's the name of the parak, and what happened was, Shola Chatzi Yaim v'Sacher Chatzi Yaim. He borrowed it for half the day, and he rented it for half the day. Probably the guy told him, "Yeah, I'll give you half the day for free." So which means he borrows it half the day, and the other half was a rental. Shola Yaim v'Sacher Lamacher. He borrowed it today, and the next day is renting it. Sacher Achas v'Shol Achas. But let's say it was two cows. One of them he rented, and one of them he borrowed. So, the halachas are different if he's, what's that over there? If he's renting or borrowing. If he's renting it, then he's going to be pater if it dies. If he's borrowing it, he's going to be chayiv if it dies. Yeah. So, Hamashalim, Umesa, I forgot to say, important point, cow died. So, Hamashalim, the lender, thank you. The lender says, She'ula Mesa, that you know which one died? Because there were two cows here. It was the one that you borrowed. That's the one that died, not the one that you rented. Therefore, you owe me. And he says, B'yom Sheisa She'ula Mesa, or if it wasn't the case of the two cows, it was the case of the one cow on different days. He says, it was on the day that you borrowed it that it died. And the borrowing day it died. B'shah Sheisa She'ula Mesa was on the time that you borrowed it that it died. The other one says over here, that's the borrower. Borrower says, any idea? I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. But I don't know. I can't say for sure. So what's the halacha when you have a bari v'shema? One of them is definite. One of them is maybe. The rule is usually bari v'shema bari yadif. One that's definite is he wins over the maybe. Look, I know for sure and you don't know. So now the only chiddush over here is that not necessarily do you say that to extract money. Here he's extracting money. The lender is the one that's claiming the definite claim. And therefore the borrower has to pay him now because of that. As the Gemara is going to point out, that means if you go over to someone and you say, you owe me money, and the other one says, I can't remember, then the person's going to have to pay, even without a proof, just because the guy says you owe me. Definitely. That is a little bit of a chiddush. Was a story, this guy, he sent letters to all the restaurants in Manhattan. He said, I had a very good time at the restaurant, but the waiter spilled some of the soup on my shirt. And, you said that you would pay for the cleaner's bill. So attached is a cleaner's bill for $17. He sent it to like thousands of restaurants around Manhattan. And he got a lot of money. The whole thing wasn't true. But no one, no one paid attention until one accountant for two restaurants said something's funny. So Yeah, but that would be a bari v'shema. The restaurant for sure says I don't remember. There's hundreds of people here every day. And okay, next case. Next case, it's funny because the next case is a little bit easier than the logic is a little bit easier. It goes the other way. The renter said that's what we're calling him now. The seicher. The renter says, "Schura mesa." It was the one that I rented that died, which obviously means that I'm exempt because when it dies, it's not. That goes under the category of unpreventable circumstances, and he should be pater because he's only renting. He's not a borrower. Yom Sheishes Schura mesa was on the day that I rented that it died. It was on because there were 2 days. There was a rental day and a borrowing day. Bishal Schura mesa was on the hour that I rented because that was the case where there was half a day rented, half a day borrowed. But Allah, Imer, the other one says, that's we're talking about the lender. Any idea? I don't know. So he's pater. So he's claiming definite that he's exempt. The other one says, something I wasn't even there. I didn't borrow it, so I don't know. So then he doesn't have to pay. So here it's easier. Here he's exempting himself. I don't have, you see, there's usually a rule that ukim amayna b'cheskas mari, that whenever you have a doubt, question, you leave the money where it was. You don't start moving the money around because of the doubt. You'll say, okay, well, first pay it and then we'll decide. It doesn't work like that. If something is unclear, you leave it. So over here, it's easier. Brought an apple. So, so here he's exempt, and it's more logical to say this. Okay, third case. Shula. The lender says, you know which cow died? It was the one that you borrowed. And the borrower, the renter, he says, no, it wasn't. It was the one that I rented. That's the one that died. So there were 2 of them. So Yishava Seicher Shaskura Mesa. Over here, it's a definite and a definite. They're both definite. He says 100%, I'm 100% sure. The other one says I'm 100% sure. So the Gemara, the Mishnah says that he has to swear. No, usually you don't have to swear unless it's a maida b'miktsas, unless you admit to something. Here he's not admitting to it. The Gemara is going to discuss this. Okay, let's go to the fourth case. The case of the talus. That's an interesting comparison. The case of the talus. We made them swear. You're right. We made them swear. And they were both definite. They're both definite. Yeah, very good. The last case is Zermi, any idea of Zermi, any idea. This one says I don't know, and this one says I don't know. These are both not definite. Both perhaps. So then what's the Allah over here? Yachleik over here, we divide it. We say money that's in doubt, we divide. This would follow the opinion of Sumchas that holds it.
How can there be a claimant who says, I'm not sure? How is that possible? Coming and saying, maybe you owe me money, or maybe you don't. Right?
Yeah.
That's why it's divided.
Yeah. So this case is when he has to give him back the cow. So, he's agreeing that I borrowed a cow for you and I rented a cow from you. So when it comes that time, so the guy says, I'm really sorry, it died. He says, yeah, okay, could be. Yeah, that would be the whole story. Yeah, you're asking, so why is this even being mentioned if the guy sort of agrees that he doesn't owe him money? How are they supposed to know?
The other guy was the one that borrowed the cow.
That's the interesting thing. How does he know? Because he wasn't there, right? That's he asking. He wasn't there. What I was thinking, learning this, is that especially if there were two cows, you could say that I recognize it. I recognize that the one that I rented to you was the one with with the spot on the ear. That's he can claim that. Another guy says no, it wasn't. It was the other way around. That was the one maybe if the animal is sitting there.
Yeah, but if he comes in and says, maybe you owe me money, it's also a way of saying, I'm not going to be able to prove it enough to say how much make of all of a raya. Obviously, I don't have a raya. I don't have a proof, or I wouldn't be indefinite.
Right. Right.
Daniel, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think the fact that the cow is dead and the guy owes him an explanation one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
So he's coming to ask the base kid to figure out the truth.
Explanation one way or the other.
Say again, please.
Because the cow died and the guy owes him an explanation one way or the other.
Oh, now it's all clear. Thank you, Yitzi.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, any rate.
I think the Taisus here that maybe is discussing what you're saying, but I have to go through it. There's some big Taisus in there. Okay. Shamet Mina, the Gemara says from the first case that Manali biyadcha v'alai any ideya chayev. One person tells to his friend, "You owe me money. You borrowed money from me, and you never paid me back. You still owe it to me." Another guy says, "I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I can't remember if I paid you back." So the halacha would be chayev. He would have to pay. He would have to pay. Why? Because the lender says bari. Bari means definite. Definite that you owe me money. And the borrower says maybe. So he would be chayev. The problem with that is lemitev di tiyuvta de Rav Nachman. This is a question on Rav Nachman because we have a Mishnah here, and Rav Nachman is an Amira. The Mishnah seems to paskin clearly that he should be chayev. The Itmar, we have a statement of Mamiraim, which is a machlekes. Manali biyadcha. If one person says to his friend, "You owe me $100," the one says the other one tells him back, "I'm not sure." Ravuna v'Rav Yehuda, two early Amiraim, the second generation Amiraim, they say chayev, that he has to pay, which fits with our Mishnah. How does that? That's bari v'shema bari yada. If there's a doubt, so the one that's definite wins. Rav Nachman and Rav Yochanan Amri, Rav Nachman and Rav Yochanan, they say pater, that he's exempt. Why? Because we say that you leave the money in its assumed status. Since everyone right here, the borrower has the money in his bank account, and so we don't extract that money just because someone is claiming something. We don't automatically extract it. Today they would probably freeze the account until they figure it out. So how long does that take? I don't know. So right, that's what they do whenever there's a case. They freeze the account. So the Gemara, we have a question now on Rav Nachman, because the Mishnah seems to say different than Rav Nachman. So the Gemara answers, "Kedam Rav Nachman kagain sheyes esak shvua b'neim." No, there's a detail that we're missing over here. The detail that we're missing is that actually they had to take an oath, and because he wasn't able to take an oath, so that's why we're going to make him pay. Usually, Rav Nachman says that if someone just makes a claim and the other person says, "I'm not sure about it," we don't make him pay. But if the person that says, "I'm not sure," is obligated to take an oath, so then if he's not able to take that oath, then he has to pay instead. So here the same thing would be that he had to take an oath. Now, we don't see what the case is. Why was there an oath administered there? So what was the oath? Mar says Kidarava. Like Rava says, Dama Rava said, Manali biyadcha. Someone says, "You owe me money." Another one says, Ein lecha biyadi yala chamishim. I only owe you 50. Regarding the other 50, Asharini Yedei, I'm not sure. So the Maida b'miktsas usually is, I owe you 50 and I don't owe you the other 50. Here it's I owe you 50 and I'm not sure about the other 50. So what happens there? So Rabbi said, if he would claim that I definitely don't owe you the other 50, then we would impose on him an oath. And he would take the oath and he would be exempt from the other 50. But over here, where he says, I don't know, so what's he supposed to take an oath? That he doesn't know? Maybe we trust him without the oath that he doesn't know. But he can't take the oath. He can't take the oath. We impose on him an oath. He can't take that oath, so he has to pay. We probably don't trust him that he doesn't know. That's why he has to pay. Yeah, that's probably how it works. Okay, so what would be in our Mishnah? Our Mishnah, we had a slightly complex Mishnah because we had several cases. We had one case where he said, he rented it for half a day and he borrowed it for half a day. Another case where he rented it for a whole day and he borrowed it for a whole day. Another case where he rented him one cow and he lent him one cow. Rented one cow and lent one cow, right? Rented and borrowed one each. So there were two cows there. So the way the Gemara is now going to work is that we're going to talk about the day difference, one day, yes, one day, or half a day and half a day. That's going to be called the Reisha. The Seifa is going to be discussed as one cow this and one cow that. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to insert another cow. Shalom is here, Maisha. We're going to need to insert the other cow, another cow, into the story, which means that the Reisha is going to be talking about two cows now. And the Seifa, which always had two cows, is going to be talking about three cows. What we're going to gain from this is we're going to say that he's admitting to one. He's admitting to one of them, and the other one he's saying that he doesn't know. So now there's an oath. So then because he can't swear, that's why he's five. So according to Rav Nachman, the explanation from our Mishnah is not Bari B'Shema Bari Yadif. The explanation for our Mishnah, because he doesn't hold of that, the explanation of our Mishnah is Mitaych Shein Yachol Yishav Mishalim, and we have to add something into the case. You ready? We'll do this inside. It says Mishkachas La. We could figure out our Mishnah and attribute a different logic to the Mishnah than what we thought at the beginning. There's Reisha Bebeis v'Seifa Begimel. That the beginning of the Mishnah starts with two cows, and the end of the Mishnah is three cows. Reisha Bebeis, what's the case? The Amalei, the lender says to the borrower, Beis Paris Masakila. I gave you two cows. Palga Diyaima Beshila, Palga Diyam Bespiris. Half a day they were supposed to be borrowed, and half a day they were supposed to be rented. Inami, or else, or also, Chadyam Beshila, V'Chadyam Bespiris. One day they were both rented, and they were both lent, and one day they were both rented. Umesu Tarvayu Beidan Shila, and here comes his claim. And both of them died during the lending time, during the borrowing time, not the renting time. That's his claim. Yeah, Rashi points out that you have to say they both died, not one of them died, because it's going to throw us into another sugya called Halach. And the Halach meant that when you have a Maida B'Miktas, I agree that I owe you 50, but you hand the 50 directly back that you owe, and when the other half of it, according to one opinion, starts over the case. Because we're not discussing that 50, you already paid it up. So now you start over. One opinion says, okay, so now we're only discussing 50, and you're denying the whole 50. So it's not a Maida B'Miktas anymore. So in order to avoid that, so what we're saying over here is they both died. They both died. Okay, and now what's about to happen? Vamalei Shayel. And the borrower says, Chada in one of them, I agree to you. B'idin Shila Mesa. So here he's Maida to one. He says, I agree that I owe you one. Because that one died during the borrowing time. And therefore he is obligated to pay because the borrower is obligated to pay for unpreventable circumstances. Bidach, however, the other one, Layadana, the other one I don't know. Ibid and Shila Mesa, Ibid and Schiris Mesa. I don't know if it died during this time or it died during that time. I wasn't paying attention. The clock was exactly at 1 o'clock and, whatever. I didn't see if it was dead already. So, the Mitaych Shein Yachol Yishava Mishalem. Because he can't swear on that, so that's why he has to pay. So Rav Nachman now resolved the question on him by saying that this is a more complex case than what we started, and it's not a din of bari v'shema bari adif, it's a din of mitoich shein yachal yishav mishal. Yeah, in English, it's not because definite and maybe the definite wins. It's because they administered an oath on him and he wasn't able to take that oath. That's why he has to, in order to administer that oath, we had to make the case more complex. Okay. Seifa B'Gimel. What's the end of the Mishnah? The same story again. It's just we have to add in another cow because we started with 2 cows to start with. Damalei Gimel Paris Nasatilach. He said, tells him that 3 cows I gave to you. Beis B'Shila V'Achas B'Sfiris. Instead of one of them being borrowed, now there's 2 that were borrowed and 1 that was rented. And so the claim of the lenders is that both of the cows that died, 2 cows died, both of them that died were the ones that you borrowed. You owe me for both of them. But and the Shayal responds, in Chada de Shila. I agree that one of them was actually the one that borrowed the Shila Mesa. However, the other one, La Yadana, I'm not sure, Ida Shila Mesa, if that's the one that died, the borrowed died. With the Kaima, the Skirisu, and the one that's still standing is the one that's rented. Ida Skiris Mesa, the one that's the other one that's dead is the one that was rented. But the Kaima the Shili, and the one that's still standing is the one that was borrowed. Okay, so we've explained both parts of the Mishnah. It's really all case number 1, but in case number 1, we had 3 scenarios. So we explained the first 2 scenarios. In the third scenario, all of case number 1, that when the borrower has to pay, that's talking about because he wasn't able to take the oath. Okay. Okay. Back in Baba Kama, we had a discussion based on the psukim in Parshas Mishpatim when it talks about Meida v'Miktas. It says the words over there, ki huzeh. Ki huzeh, it says when he admits to we explain it, he admits to partial admittance, he has to take an oath. Ad ha'alikim yavid varshneim, they have to come to Beis Din, he has to take an oath. Now, that parsha, that discussion was talking about Shaimrim, watchmen. Now, Rami Bar Chama says that every single watchman, even though the way we normally learn the Gemara is that a watchman always has to take an oath, let's say a Shomer Chinam, he wants to claim that it died, but it wasn't negligence, right? He wants to say that it was stolen, but it wasn't negligence. It's not because he left the door open, so he has to take an oath. Rami Bar Chama says, no, he doesn't. He only has to take an oath if he is admitting to partial, denying partial. Then, so notice, even a regular, even the oath of the Shomrim also requires the Meida v'Miktas. He combines the 2 halachas of Meida v'Miktas and the Shomrim. He says, no, the Shomrim need a Meida v'Miktas. The watchmen need a partial admittance in order to be chayav. Now, according to that, it's going to complicate our case just one more step, because we're going to need not only a partial admittance over here, we're also going to need a partial denial. And that we didn't have a full denial. We only had an I don't know. So what he's going to do now with the Rami Bar Chama, he says that the Dalet Shem Fear mixes Veidav mixes Mishkachas Lareisha Begimel V'Seifa B'Dalet. So before we start, we've started at the beginning that there was 1 cow.
If a person doesn't know, can't even use his word to judge one way or another. But if he's able to deny it fully or partially, that's basically
Yeah, Rav Nachman says that if the person that's claiming doesn't have a real claim, the only thing that's that we have with his claim is that he says it with confidence. And the other guy is not so confident. But no, the person that's claiming is not swearing. So this is sort of like a court case where one guy walks in with a booming, loud voice. And the other guy says, I don't know, a soft voice and maybe. So do you automatically trust the loud voice over the soft voice? Let's say
but
the
why
guy.
Can't he just make an oath?
Yeah, but we don't just administer oath. There has to be.
He makes an
Who, the claimant, the one that's
Yeah.
claiming? Oh, now the truth is that there is a concept of a Shvus Hesses, which was instituted later.
I mean, you can make partial.
Now, does Rashi say this?
Like you owe me $100. Oh, I owe you 50. You know.
Yeah, Rav Nachman later on instituted that that whenever someone says I don't know, he really has to, because Rav Nachman holds that when you say I don't know, you have to imagine another case. A guy comes in with a very soft voice and he says, I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. Comes in with a soft voice and he says, you owe me money. Another guy with a booming voice says, how am I supposed to know if I owe you money? Maybe we didn't. Maybe I paid you back. What do you think? You're just going to come in here and say I owe him money? We don't even know anything. So Rav Nachman would say that you trust the second guy. We're not taking money out. It has nothing to do with his voice, but it has to do with the fact that he says he doesn't know. So the problem is that every person can do that. Whenever someone has a claim, he can always just say I don't know. And like, let's say the person says, was it Pshia? That's right. Yeah. Kalla Yadana Pshiusi. Very good. Shalom is quoting to me that Kalla Yadana Pshiusi from Hamafkid. So yeah, that's a different type of Layadana. That's because he doesn't remember where he put them. That was the case. What was it? What was it? The pearls? What was it? Yeah. Was it nose rings? I forgot the word that the Gemara used for them. Kipi. That's right. Okay. So that's a different type of I don't know. Here the I don't know is I don't know if you owe me money. So I don't know if I owe you money. So Rav Nachman later instituted that anyone that says I don't know has to take an oath that he really doesn't know. So because he would be exempt by saying I don't know, and it's easy to say I don't know.
But that's only as a defense, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can't be used offensively.
Right.
Yeah.
Says that he owns the 50 and that he doesn't know about the other 50, they would still administer. No?
According to everyone, yes, they would administer an oath because he's admitting. Those are the admitting. According to Rami Bar Chama, you need to have a kfira b'mitzvahs. You also have to have a full denial. He never had a full denial. So according to Rami Bar Chama, we have to make the case more complex. That's what we're holding now. Yeah.
Because he could just say, oh, I don't know about everything, but he's saying, oh, look, I paid you the 50. I don't know about the other.
And I paid you. I owe you the 50.
Oh, I owe you 50. I'm only paying the rest. Right?
Then the rest, I don't know what you're talking about. The rest means lahadam, means that I don't owe you the rest. It says regarding the rest, I'm not sure.
Oh, so this is a maybe.
Yeah, that's a maybe.
And then, so in both cases, it'll be different. The one that he says that maybe he takes oath on the other one.
Now what we're about to do is we're about to introduce where he says 50, I agree that I owe you. The other 50, half of it, I'm 100% sure that I don't owe you, 25. And the other 25, I'm not 100% sure. So he has to take an oath on that. And because he can't take an oath because he doesn't know, he has to take an oath on the first part, that when he's denying half, that he has to take the oath. But because he can't take the oath on the second half, he has to pay. So here it goes like this. It's going to work out like this. Reisha Begimel, the first case of the Mishnah, the first two cases of the Mishnah, the first two scenarios of the first case is the Amarle, the lender says, Gimel Paras Nasati Lach, I gave you 3 cows. Palgadiyam B'Shila, Palgadiyam B'Schiris. Half the day was considered Lent and half the day was considered rent. Inami, or also Chadiyam B'Shila, Chadiyam B'Schiris, or maybe it was a day by day. One day it was Lent and one day it was rent. Mesa Gimel. and they all three died, and now the lender claims, Kula Bidin Shila, all three died exactly at the time that makes you chayev, at the time when it was lent. The borrower responds, he says like this, Chada, one of these cows, it's not true, 100% not true. No, it doesn't matter what, maybe he's saying you never lent it to me. It doesn't matter, it's ladam. Maybe it's saying that it was clearly in the time of the schiras, of renting, whatever he says, ladam, it's all total denial. One of them, you're right, Bidin Shila Mesa, you're right, he lent it to me and died during the time of lenting. The other one, Bidin Shila Mesa, Bidin Schiras Mesa, I'm not sure. So now over here we have a Maida b'miktas and a Kfira b'miktas, admitting and the denying, and then we also has the other part, which is he doesn't know, where he's not able to swear, so he has to pay. Yeah, this is okay. Sefer B'Daled, the last case where we had already, we started off with 2 cows just when we started. Then for Rav Nachman, we had to add in a 3rd cow, and for Rav Nachman, according to Ran Bar Chama, we have to add in a 4th cow. Sefer B'Daled, Dalet person Asatilach, I gave you 4 cows. Gimel B'Shila, Chada B'Schiras. One of them was given to you with rent, and 3 of them were with lent. You know the 3 that died. You know which ones they were? Exactly the ones that would make you owe me money. It's the ones that were lent to you. That's the one that died. The borrower responds, one of them you don't know what you're talking about. One of the ones that died was clearly the one that was rented. And one of them in. See, there's a problem over here with this case. That's why Lahadam is a little.
Is it like here if you automatically like for one say barley 16 for one piece of sheep 6 more has to go in.
You're saying with the cows, like if it gets nullified or something? I think when you borrow it, automatically you have to pay back, even if say I borrow from you $1 and I put it into my wallet. There's 60 singles there. Should I say that the $1 that I borrowed from you is nullified? The 60. I don't know which one it was. It doesn't work like that. So it's mixing the 2 types of laws. So Chadal Adam, one of them, 100% not correct. I don't owe it to you. Chada in the Shila Mesa, one of them you are 100% correct. I do owe it to you. It was the one that was borrowed. V'idach layadana. And the last one, I'm not sure. The Schiras Mesa, the Kaim of the Shila Mesa, the Kaim of the Schiras. Because he can't swear, he has to pay. Now I just have to clarify. There's a slight problem with this, with the logic over here, because there's 4 cows altogether. Okay, 3 of them were rented, according to the story. 3 of them were lent. 1 of them was rented. Once the person says one of them is 100% the rented one, now he can't afterwards say one of them I'm not sure, because there was only one rented one, and he already used that rented one by saying that that's one of the ones that died. So he really can't do that. That's why I'm saying that the Lahadam here, the Lahadam doesn't, when he says Lahadam is an abbreviation for Lahadam. I'm sorry, that's the yeshiva expression. Lahadam means it never happened the way you're saying. Lahadam means forever. These words did not happen forever. Like what you're saying is totally false. And they made it into an acronym. The yeshiva they learned to say Lahadam. So like I deny everything you're saying. So yeah, we'll have to come up over here with how is he claiming that one of them was clearly not the borrowed one. Okay, so that means it's the rented one, right? But maybe not. Maybe he's saying that one of them wasn't even yours. I don't know. He's getting out of it some other way. And he says one of them I'm not sure. Maybe it's the rented one. Maybe it's the borrowed one. right? We have to make the case a little more complex. And then, so what happens now is that he's not able to swear because he can't swear that what happened because he doesn't know. So therefore, he has to pay. And that's why in the Mishnah we said that he has to pay. It's not because of Bari B'Shema, it's because of this complex because he's not able to swear. Okay, now we go back to the Mishnah. And it said Ze'am Shula v'Ze'am Skura. This is case number 2 in the Mishnah. Case number 3, actually. Case number 3. Case number 3 in the Mishnah. This one said that it was the one that was borrowed, and this one said definitely that it was the one that was rented. So it's like a head-on collision. This one's saying they're both definite. So the rule was Yishava Seicher Sheskura Mesa, the one that the renter just has to swear that it was the one that was rented, and then he'll be exempt. The Gemara says, "V'amai, why is he swearing? Mashatanu lo'haydele, mashahaydele lo'tanu." It's not a might of a mixas. Why is he swearing over here? Amar Ula says, "Al yedei Gilgal." He's swearing through. It's like a roll on. They roll on an oath because I'm sorry, it's called Gilgal Shvua because we have this. Actually, it comes out Gilgal Shvua is Daraisa. Those that are learning Saita, there's a Gilgal Shvua in Saita where they make her swear that she's innocent from the man that they're claiming against. They roll on also that she's innocent from any other man that the husband wasn't even claiming at. Amen mir shacher. She has to claim, so it's like a Gilgal. Well, once we're taking an oath, we can put in more details into the. So here, all right. They just roll on, tag on some more things. So over here also, he is a shomer. The shomer has to swear. So what is he swearing? He's swearing that it wasn't bipshia or whatever it was. So once he has to swear, so then we're going to also say like which time it was. Okay. Just tell me that it died naturally and not because of your negligence. Swear that it died naturally, not because of your negligence. Omigo. And just as the Mishnah the Kedarka Mesa, Mishnah Nami the Schur Mesa, we can tag along this other oath that it wasn't the one that was borrowed, that it was the rented one, and that way he has to swear. Okay. Then the Mishnah said, if they both said, I don't know. That was the last case of the Mishnah. And we said the rule was that they divided. Amani, who is this opinion? Sumchas, the opinion of Sumchas. Sumchas is a student of Rav Meir. And his opinion through Shas, I don't know if we have much other statements from Sumchas. Maybe we have one other thing from Sumchas. Was there Chatzi Nezek, Treiris or something that might have been Sumchas? But this is his main statement in Shas. I'm going to do a search to prove me right or wrong.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't even do that.
Okay. He says whenever we have a doubt about money, we just divide it, split it in half, like King Solomon. Okay. Boy, Rababa Bar Mamal. Rababa Bar Mamal asks a question. You ready? We're going to have a bunch of questions here. Let's see. Remember we said that over here we're dealing with the case where he rented one day, borrowed one day. Let's say he starts with borrowing. He borrows it for a day. And then the second day is considered a rental. Now, when he borrowed it for the first day, the owner was serving him a cup of water while he was borrowing it. Or the owner was assisting him take it out of the thing and load up the animal for him. So the owner was helping him at the time of the borrowing. The second day when he's renting it, the owner wasn't there. Do we say, Miyamrina, do we say, Shila l'chudei kaima, that the borrowing is independent? Schiris l'chudei kaima, and the renting is independent. So therefore, the renting does not have the owner together with him, and the renting is going to have some basic obligations if it gets stolen. Or, one second. The obligation of the renter to pay when it's stolen already started when he borrowed it. Borrower has to pay even more than if it's stolen, even if it's unpreventable circumstances. And so when he pulled the cow, when he borrowed it, he was accepting on himself responsibility for theft and accepting on himself responsibility also for if it's if unpreventable circumstance. Now the unpreventable circumstance falls off because now it's rental, but the original borrowing included in it also for theft. And what happened here is it got stolen. So maybe the fact that he's now exempt from the theft because it was Sheila B'Bailam, he borrowed it together with the owner, so that continues on to the renting. Because he was obligated for Gneva Aveda even when he borrowed it. So that responsibility or that liability was there already when they first pulled it. Imtim Tzalaima, that's a question. Do we say that it restarts? Do we say that it's the original one and then he would be exempt? Imtim Tzalaima Schiras B'Shila Meshach Shaychi. If we say that it does not restart, it continues on. When he first borrowed it and then he rented it. So let's now flip it the other way. Sachra B'Bailam Shalash Le B'Bailam. Started off where he rented it. And the owner was there helping him load it up and this. So really should be exempt. The following day, it's considered a lent. It's not considered rented. Now he has some new obligations here the following day. So before we said when he accepted all the obligations and just one drops off when it becomes a rental, we understood that. But now, how does he get the new obligation? Because it started off as a rental. He's only chayav if it's stolen, but now when he becomes bar, he's chayav for more. So there must be some new acquisition here that's making him chayav for the new things. Maybe we say it's not connected. So and now it dies. Not it gets stolen. Now we have a new story here. Now it dies. So do we say do we say that 1 second? This is a brand new thing. He's now a borrower. It can't be connected to the rental because now he has new obligations. Or perhaps even the shaykh of a mixus, command the shaykh of a maybe the fact that he was obligated already from yesterday for the theft. So that continues today. Those original obligations still continue, and it's still considered the same sort of thing, just with one slight new obligation. Okay, it's a little bit of a stretch. If we don't say that we say, oh, because you were obligated for Gneva Vaveda, now you're going to be obligated for also for the unpreventable circumstances, and it's going to be the original one. Let's say what happened is, let's see if we don't say that. So we're going to make a case where maybe we'll go back to yes saying that. Yeah. Chaim, you're probably expecting Rabbi Yirmiyah to ask a question like this.
Oh.
It goes like this. He borrowed it together with the owner. Should be exempt. Then he rented it. Okay, that was a question if the rental is a continuation of the borrowing. But then afterwards he borrowed it. So it's like 3 days in a row. Rented, borrowed. I'm sorry. Borrowed, rent, borrowed. So when it goes to the last day, where he's borrowing it, we said that that's disconnected from the day before it. But maybe because it started off as borrowing, so maybe it just continues on from the original borrowing. And that obligation is still there of unpreventable circumstances, and it's from the original kinyan and from the original borrowing, which we said that if the owner's there, then you're exempt at the original borrowing, even if afterwards he's not there. So maybe you should be exempt for this also.
Something similar.
Remind me.
Someone rents a cow for 100 days and
Oh yeah. Yeah. Remember that case. Shalom is reminding me of the case where he rents it for 100 and borrows it for 90. Is that it? And then he rents it back for not borrows it. He rents it back to him, and then he rents it back, and then goes back to the owner, and then back. He's going to end up paying much more than the value of the.
We reviewed that last night.
So, do we say do we say that the borrowing goes back to its original place? Maybe we say that the rental in the middle breaks it apart. Okay, next case. Sachra b'bailim, if he rented it with the owners there. Shala, and then the second day was borrowing. The chazer v'sachra, and then it goes back to the renting. Miyamrina and asya l'schirs l'dichtei. Do we say that no, the renting goes back to its original renting? Maybe we say shaila beni beni, or maybe like we said before, that once it becomes borrowed, that stops the rental because there's new obligations and that needs to take over. So now that stopped because of the borrowing that came in, and that interrupts the renting, and therefore it should be chayav now, even though it was rented originally together with the owners. The Gemara leaves this as a takeover. Okay, let's leave the Gemara over here.
Whoa.
Today was Sadik class, one day behind. I'm not going to be able to learn tonight. I believe it as it. On Shavuos, Bezos Hashem will learn. Yeah. And we'll learn the first night we'll learn in the middle of the night, and then the next day we'll learn in the morning, I guess.
Not 11:30, because I'm getting sure.
Bezos Hashem.
We still
What's the shit on?
on